Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Koki of the Seahawk Recap Show, and welcome back, everyone. Football is back. I'm your host, Ryan Koki, and the first preseason game of the 2025-2026 NFL season for your Seattle Seahawks is underway as it concluded last night at 1 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast. So that's why I'm doing this video now, a day later. And man, what a way to start off the season. For any of you that don't know, this intro is going to be a little longer because I'm going to explain what I'm actually doing here. So, welcome to the Seahawk game recaps. What does that include? That includes basically recapping the game for you guys, giving team stats, giving Ryan's focus players, people that I think did really well in the game and I wanted to highlight and talk about. And then I'll give my final thoughts. What went well for the Seahawks, what they need to improve on, and just giving kudos to the other teams. Because, this is the National Football League. This is the highest level in football for professional sports. So I got to give kudos to the other team. Let's get in to this game. I'm so happy that football is finally back. We have it until February, so it should be a lot of fun. And for the preseason opener, it's Pete Carroll back in Lumen Field, Seahawks versus Raiders. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like. Helps me know if I'm doing a good job with these videos or not. And if you'd like to stick around and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any future Seahawks content, that would be greatly appreciated as I am trying to reach 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Like always, let's get into the game summary. The Seahawks and the Raiders tie in the first preseason game of the season, 23-23. And that is just so fitting. You know what? I'm not even mad because honestly, this is preseason, man. This is showing a level of effort between two of the two of my favorite coaches right now, Mike McDonald and Pete Carroll, a former Seahawks head coach that I've been around for a long time and watched for a long time. So let's start off with the Seahawks because they were the home team. 368 total yards, 198 yards passing, 170 yards rushing, averaged 5.7 yards per play, had 23 first downs, went 8 for 15 on third down, went 0 for 1 on fourth down, had 65 total plays, one sack allowed, four punts, nine penalties for 78 yards given up, zero fumbles, one interception thrown by Drew Lock in the first half, and the Seahawks ended the day with 31 minutes and 8 seconds of possession time. And honestly, for a first preseason game when no starters were in for the Seahawks, I'm looking at it and going, okay, that's a pretty decent game. A couple of blemishes, and we will get into those, but it's not as bad as you think for a first preseason game. These guys haven't played in game speed since January or February or even earlier than that. So I get it. But for the Raiders on the other side in the new Pete Carroll era, they had 392 total yards, 288 passing yards, 104 rushing yards, averaged 5.9 yards per play, and they had 21 first downs. They went 5 for 14 on third down, went 2 for 2 on fourth down, had 67 total plays, one sack allowed, two punts, 10 penalties for 80 yards given up, zero fumbles, and two interceptions thrown in the first half by Aiden O'Connell from Josh Jobe and Naimullah Richett. And they had 28 minutes and 52 seconds of possession time, did the Raiders. So on the team stats side of things, very evenly matched. We get to Ryan's focus players, and let's talk about the Seahawks for a minute. And you probably knew I was going to talk about him. Let's talk about 2025 third round pick, Jalen Milrow, 6 for 10, had 61 yards passing, zero touchdowns, zero interceptions, three carries for 38 yards, averaged 12.7 yards per carry, zero touchdowns. But Jalen Milrow, coming into this, Drew Lock started in the first half. But Jalen Milrow started in the second half, and I didn't watch in college. I don't watch college football. So this is my first time experiencing the Jalen Milrow type of play style. And he's had a good camp. He's had some very good explosive plays. You've seen it. We've all seen it if we've been paying attention. And to see him in game speed, this guy is just so electric with his legs. Like he's running plays where I'm like, wow, that's a shade of Lamar Jackson, isn't it? Like I know that's high praise, and I'm gonna kind of glaze my guy a bit because again, I am a Seahawks fan and I like glazing my guys, but man, Jalen Miro just so impressive. His pocket presence is actually way better than I thought it would be for a third string quarterback, for a third round quarterback. Um, the guy's again got all the right tools. He's got the raw athleticism that you need to have in the NFL. He's got that kind of Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson type of dual threat archetype where he will hurt you with his legs if he needs to. And he bit off some big gains and he distracts defenses. A guy like that under a Mike McDonald team is great. And honestly, Jalen Murrow did very well. His stats don't show that, oh, he didn't have any touchdowns. He didn't have any interceptions. Yeah, but he's a third string quarterback. He's a rookie in the NFL, and you know what? He has time to grow. What I saw from him was a clear willingness to read, read plays, read the defense, and make sure that he's not throwing balls into oncoming defenders. He's not making those types of mistakes. And yes, it is a small sample size. It is only preseason week one, and we probably won't see him in week two because the starters will be in, but he did very, very well. So props to Jalen Milrow. I can't wait to see him in the rest of the preseason. And let's get to running back. George Halani, 7 carries, 61 yards, averaged 8.7 yards per carry, had the one touchdown. And George Halani, this is his time. This is his time. He was on the practice squad for the Seahawks for the majority of last season, getting into some games last season. I believe he got into 5 games, but he was a star last season in the preseason, and he's come out of the gate and he's really shown up in this game. You know, I think he had what 3 carries for 20 plus yards at one point, had the long touchdown, 27 yards scamper to the end zone in the first half to give the Seahawks their first points of the game and give them the lead going into the first quarter. But George Halani has now got an opportunity here with Kenny McIntosh on IR with a ACL tear that was confirmed to be a guy that comes in as maybe the third running back and can take that spot. He was on special teams, taking punts, taking kicks, and he was on special teams in general, blocking for people too. So this guy, I'm really excited. I really liked what he did last year in the preseason, and I hope he can find a way on this 53-man roster. We'll just have to see. The wide receiver, the new wide receiver, the rookie 5th-round pick from this year's draft, Corey Horton, 3 receptions, 31 yards, averaged 10.3 yards per reception, had the one touchdown. And I like Torrey Horton, man. All I've been hearing about Torrey Horton in training camp was he's been making some big plays every single day. Every single day, he's been making huge plays, huge improvements. He's a very good route runner. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see how that reacts to in game speed. And lo and behold, People were right. He is a really good route runner. He's very shifty. And the good thing about Torrey Horton is that the broadcast, Kate Scott was saying, he could have been a top 50 pick if he didn't get injured in his last season in Colorado State, but he drops to the fifth round. Seahawks pick him up, and now they've got a guy that's going to fight. They've got guys on this roster right now in the wide receiver room that are going to need to fight for the fourth, fifth spot on this team. And I think Torrey Horton, man, if he puts up another game like he just did here, with just trying to get open, trying to make sure that his quarterback has a kind of safety blanket, that would be amazing. I would love to see him on the 53 because he's really shown some things that I really like. He reminds me a lot of, you know, a lot more shiftier Tyler Lockett in the sense like Tyler Lockett was always the consistent safety blanket for the Seahawks. And now with him no longer here, does that give Torrey Horton a role? Does that give Torrey Horton the opportunity to come in and be that third, fourth guy on the depth chart when you need a safety blanket kind of guy? Does Torrey Horton come in? And again, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. It is the first preseason, but man, I'm so happy football is back and Torrey Horton getting that touchdown, getting his first touchdown of the year. That stick route that he ran a stick route and he just sat there. He did his route, sat in the middle, waited. Drew Lock threw it to him right on the money, and he slipped. He slipped through two tackles and got into the end zone like it was nothing, like it was just another day. And that's what I really love about Torrey Horton is because he is a guy that I'm seeing for the first time, watching for the first time, and just I really like what he has to bring to this Seahawks team. But let's get into the Seahawks defense. Let's get to D lineman Mike Morris, another fifth round pick, but from the 2023 NFL draft. One solo tackle, zero assisted tackles, zero sacks, zero forced fumbles. And one thing you'll notice about me in this focus players section and segment is that I don't always go off of stats. I don't always go off of who had the best stats. But I will tell you that I'm highlighting Mike Morris here because he was a Mike McDonald draft pick. He was a guy that Mike McDonald had at Michigan. This guy wants to be on this 53-man roster. He was creating pressure all night on Aiden O'Connell. The whole D line was buying into pressure. Not getting many sacks, but always making sure that Aiden O'Connell didn't have a somewhat clean pocket. And that's exactly what you need from your front, from everybody on your front. Stop the run game and make sure that you put enough pressure on the quarterback to make sure that they make some mistakes. That's what forced the two interceptions from Aiden O'Connell was the pressure. And Mike Morris was a big part of that. So I want to see if this guy can keep up the good work and make sure that he can stay on and probably be part of this 53-man roster because the Seahawks do need some depth. They need guys to back up their starting B ends, and I think Mike Morris might fit that bill. Next up, let's talk about CB Naimla Pritchett. 4 solo tackles, 0 assisted, 0 sacks, the 1 interception. And man, oh man, for someone who was looking at the depth chart for the Seahawks, at corner specifically, one of the big things coming into this season was who is going to fill in that fourth and fifth spot on the depth chart. Who's going to fill in those spots? Because you've got Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, Josh Jobe. There's your 3. Okay. Then you need a 4th. Then you need a 5th just in case somebody gets injured because more than likely people are going to get injured in the NFL. That's just how it is. And Naimla Pritchett, his last season coming in as a 6th round pick out of Auburn last year, I'm going to say this, he was not very impressive. But in this game, making surefire tackles, 4 solo tackles on his own, making sure that he's wrapping up wide receivers, and he got a pick. He's reading the plays well. He's improving, and that's exactly what you want from a 6th round pick. A guy who's willing to fight for a spot, and I really want to see that for him because I don't want to give up on players too early. And if they're 6th round picks, man, I want them to make it. I root for the underdog. So a great game from Naeem Pritchett. A good pick from Aiden O'Connell, just reading his eyes, making sure that he's there to make a play. And that's what he's there to do. He's there to make a play. He's there to show that Mike McDonald needs to consider him for a spot on this team. And let's get to linebacker Jared Ivory. 1 solo tackle, 5 assisted, 0 sacks, 0 interceptions, and he is a UDFA signed on May 2nd, rather, and he's brought in for training camp. And this undrafted rookie, did pretty well as a linebacker. Now, the linebackers have a bit of they need a third linebacker. They need linebackers. The Seahawks will need linebackers, and they will need depth on this team. And I think in these games, preseason games are precious because a lot of these guys, there are 90 people on the roster, and a lot of these guys are going to need to fight for spots. And I think Jared Ivory really put in a good performance, showing that he can tackle. He can make surefire tackles with some help. And that's all he did, was just did his job well. Just making sure that when the ball was caught, that he did tackle and try to help out. And that's all you can ask from a guy trying to make the 53-man roster. So pretty happy with that from Jared Ivory. Let's get to the Raiders now, and let's get to QB Aiden O'Connell. 8 for 30, had 205 total yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And those 2 interceptions, man, just great from the Seahawks defense. But Aiden O'Connell, man, I'm very, very surprised. He had a shaky first quarter. But that second quarter, he was shot out of a cannon in the second quarter, making some very decent throws. But he did have those 2 interceptions. Then he comes back into the game in the second half, and he just decides in the third quarter that it's his. He decides in the third quarter that he's diagnosing the Seahawks defense, and the Seahawks right now, if one blemish was on their record for the defense, it was the middle of the field. And he recognized that, Aiden O'Connell, as a veteran QB. I believe he's now in his 3rd year in the league. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he just diagnosed it. He just kept throwing to the middle and gaining success, making sure that his guys were, getting the ball in their hands, making plays. And you know what? Aiden O'Connell, good game from him. Really impressed by the veteran QB. And next up, we got running back Dylan LeBeau. 5 carries, 34 yards, 6.8 yards per carry, 0 touchdowns. And the reason why I'm highlighting this running back in particular is not because of his stats, but because of what I saw during this game. This guy, man, really seemed like he really wants to be part of this team on the Raiders. And that's a testament to how Pete Carroll likes to build his teams. He likes to build his teams with guys who want to show up to work every single day. You give Pete Carroll a reason to like you, you're gonna get on that 53-man roster. And Dylan really showed up this game. Not so much in the yards department. He didn't have a mind-blowing game, but some of his runs were very, very tough. He was bringing 2 guys with him on a lot of runs. He was making a second effort, and that's what Pete Carroll likes. So good game from Dylan LeBeau. And let's get to the wide receiver, Sharik Jackson. 4 receptions, 76 yards, averaged 19 yards per reception and had the one touchdown, the 41-yard plus bomb that was thrown by the third string quarterback I believe his name is Andre Miller. And that was a thing of beauty. Honestly, I had to give it to him because I literally watched that play in the fourth quarter from Cedric Jackson and was like, oh, number 4, that could be a problem because he just absolutely toasted whoever he was on. I can't remember what corner he had just toasted, but he just ran by him, like completely just slipped him by and ran by him. And that is what Pete Carroll likes to see. He likes his players having big moments, and uh Jackson really showed up in this game. A lot of the plays that we saw from the Raiders, Jackson was with was like all around the ball. He was all around the ball. Even if he wasn't getting the receptions, he was always a threat because he seems like a really good player. So good game from the young wide receiver. Let's get to the Raiders defense. Let's get to D lineman defensive end Tariq Wilson. 2 solo tackles, 0 assisted, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, and this guy had a very slow start to his career. And because of injuries, I think he's in his third year now with the Las Vegas Raiders, coming in to a Pete Carroll style team. And honestly, from what I heard on the broadcast, this player, he has all the strengths that you want. He's going to try and make this 53 at the end of the preseason. And this is a year that the Las Vegas Raiders are hoping they can see out of a guy like Tariq Wilson because they want him part of this team, but he needs to earn his spot on this team like everybody else. And he did show up. He did put in 2 solo tackles. He did put in a good showing from their D line. This D line for the Raiders was batting passes at the line against Drew Lock. They did so with Jalen Milroe a little bit. It was good defense from both teams on the Raiders and Seahawks side of things. Let's talk about DB cornerback Kyrou Blue Kelly. 2 solo tackles, 0 assisted, 0 sacks, 0 interceptions. But I want to talk about Blue Kelly because he was on the Seahawks for a little bit. He was on the practice squad for a little bit, got picked up by the Raiders, and this guy, I don't know what the depth chart looks like for the Raiders, but Kyrou was really good at boxing out receivers. He made some plays where he was just batting balls away. He was always on his guy. He's a very aggressive tackler, and he did end up, I think, getting a little banged up in this game, but he's a high competitive athlete, and he did really well in this game. So, good job from Kyrou Blue Kelly for the Raiders. And let's get to linebacker. Yes, linebacker Jamal Adams. 3 solo tackles, 0 assisted, 0 sacks, 0 interceptions. But Jamal Adams, former Seahawk, former safety for the Seahawks. And the reason why I wanted to talk about Jamal Adams was because this position is where he should have been on the Seahawks. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a rant, but stick with me. He is a prototypical linebacker. His coverage skills, not that great, but he's a blitzer. He's a blitzer. He's a guy that can come off the edge. He's a guy that can make tackles when he's put in the position to succeed if he wants to, have an effort. And him being back in Lumen Field, he's making tackles. He was making some good tackles, made some tackles for loss on the running backs. I believe he did that on Damian Martinez at one point. And I think that this changed. I think that Pete Carroll really likes Jamal Adams and thinks that hey, you were a safety for the Seahawks. You didn't work out at safety. Let's move you to linebacker where you can succeed. And that's exactly what Pete Carroll does. He puts his guys in positions to succeed. So, Jamal Adams, good to see you back on a roster. And we'll see what happens with your new position at linebacker because I think you might flourish there a little bit more than you did at safety with the Seattle Seahawks. My final thoughts. What went well? Well, the Seahawks defense looked a lot better. That secondary is looking fresh and clean, getting 2 picks in this game. Josh Jobe and Naimla Pritchett, getting those picks in the first quarter from Aiden O'Connell. It was a thing of beauty. You watch guys like Josh Jobe, you watch guys like Naimla Pritchett, and you see improvement. And that's all I want from this year. I have very high hopes for the Seahawks because I think the foundation of this team is in place. Now it's down to the players and the coaching of all things. And I really, really liked those first 2 picks. The culture oozing from this team, from this Mike McDonald Seahawks team, is immense. Every time one of these second stringers or third stringers or fourth stringers made a play, the starters were going bananas on the sideline, and we will talk about that a little later. And I love to see that. All things considered, for the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line, man, they were doing really well. Again, had some blemishes. We'll get to that, but they ultimately did very well. They were strong. They were bullying on the line of scrimmage. They were making sure that something magical happened, guys. The run game was a factor. I know, right? Like that's insane that the run game was actually a factor when the O line actually, pushed. That's amazing. And you look at the new offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak. Okay, again, first game, very very small sample size. I get that, but this team, this offense looks completely different. It's no longer the air raid style of offense. It's a more of a West Coast kind of offense where you're using play action. You're using your run game to set up said play action. And that played a lot into Jalen Milroe's strengths because Jalen Milroe is a runner a lot. He's got the pure athleticism to do that. So they're setting him up for success, and they did really well in this game. I'm really happy with Clint Kubiak's first game as Seahawks offensive coordinator, and I can't wait to see more from him this preseason. What to improve on? You can always improve. And for the first preseason game, the only thing I can say that the Seahawks need to improve on is obviously the penalties. Getting 9 penalties. Again, it's preseason. I understand that penalties are a big thing, but I'm more talking about the avoidable penalty. During those 2 picks, Josh Jobe got a pick, Naimla Pritchett got a pick. The Seahawks got so excited, the starters got so excited and so hyped up that they ran onto the field to celebrate. Okay, that's not a problem. That's generally not a problem, but it is an unsportsmanlike penalty. You can't do that. And that's what I'm going to nitpick here. Again, I know I'm nitpicking. I think it's obviously, it's more of a culture thing. You're supporting your boys, you're supporting your guys. I understand that, but just make sure that it doesn't become a trend because that is 30 yards that you gave up on 2 penalties that were completely unnecessary. But again, I am nitpicking. I loved how this first game came out and how this game just progressed. I think this culture is really starting to build in the second year with Mike McDonald under the head coaching mantle. And let's get to my final thoughts. This game for the preseason, for the Pete Carroll and Geno Smith return game, I think it's just fitting, man. It's honestly just fitting that this game ended the way it did in a tie in the preseason, 23-23. Pete Carroll, obviously, longtime head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, and he's coming into Lumen Field and going, this used to be my home. I'm going to show you that, I'm going to try to win this game. I don't care if it's preseason. I'm going to try to win this game. I'm going to show up and I'm going to try to take you to task. And Mike McDonald, Pete Carroll, just what a game. What a game this was. This was just so fun to watch. I had a blast. Even in a tie, I'm just so giddy that football is back. This game started off, it was competitive. It could go either way, and they obviously settled for the tie, and it's just so fitting. I can't wait to see what the Pete Carroll Raiders have in store this season because he's gonna build. He's gonna build. Raiders fans, listen to me. You have a competent head coach now, and he's gonna build that culture. He built Seattle's culture up for many, many years. He's going to help you guys immensely. He's going to help you win games. He's going to make sure that the players are fighting every single time they step on the field. No more Josh Daniels. No more Antonio Pierce. You're going to get a guy that loves and breathes football, even though he's old. For the Seahawks, Mike McDonald, this is your team. This is your team, and I know that now. I know that you are building on your first year, and now you're taking full control of this team. You're building your own identity, you're building your own culture, and what a way to start off the 2025-2026 NFL season. It was just such a great game. I'm so glad I stayed up to watch that. That is it for this video here. Leave a comment down below. What did you think of this first preseason game? And I will see you in the next one when the Seahawks take on the Chiefs at Lumen Field for the second preseason game. I will see you guys then. Go Hawks, go! And take care of yourselves. Have a good day.